Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Lawns Across America. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, you're going to see the studio setup is a little bit different, and you'll find out why a little bit later. I'm going to actually take off the visuals here and just go to all audio. I'm sitting here on a Sunday afternoon just kind of chilling, so want to kind of catch you guys up on a few things and do a podcast that's quite a little bit different and by request. So those of you that follow the channel, you'll know that a few weeks ago I was up in Bozeman, Montana. That's actually where my business partner Josh lives. And he runs all of our tech stack from there, as well as most of the customer service. And then, of course, I'm down here in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Florida, where we have our warehouse and other offices. And then we have all of our development team in Salt Lake City. And so when I was up there with Josh, I thought, one of the things that was requested a lot after I did a collab with Matt from Obsessed Garage, if you haven't seen that, you should go to the YouTube channel and check it out. It was done this summer. No, actually, it was done in May, so right before summer, right before the blackout. I actually went to his house and fertilized his lawn. If you don't know who Matt is, he has a really cool channel, Obsessed Garage. It's really what I would call higher-end men's stuff. It isn't just garage stuff. It's actually things that men of a certain age who have worked to a certain level in their lives and have a certain amount of money to spend, there are certain things they like to purchase. And there's a whole lot of maintenance that goes into that. So these are guys that buy supercars and they race them around in the mountains in North Carolina, which I think is really cool. And when you have that supercar, there's a lot of maintenance that has to be done on the brakes and the tires and the wheels, and certain ways that it has to be cleaned, and then certain ways the paint has to be taken care of. And all of this requires a lot of equipment, and then a big garage, and then a garage with a certain kind of floor, and then a certain kind of cabinets that they only have in Formula One garages. So it just becomes high-end. And then the lighting, and then the sound system that you have because you're spending so much time out there. That's Obsessed Garage. And that's not me, that's not my thing. You guys have seen my garage. My garage is more like Hoarder's Garage is what mine looks like. And so I'm the exact opposite, which was great because when me and Matt did our collab, it kind of worked out because how much different we are. He actually told me he can't stand lawn care, doesn't like the lawn at all. And I was like, oh, well, okay, great. Then I'm going to get you addicted like everyone else does. And I think he, when they start messing with it, I think he had a similar goal to maybe try to get me into some of the cool stuff he does, which it is intriguing. I would love to buy a $4,000 pressure washer unit for inside my garage that I use only to wash my lawnmowers. That'd be pretty awesome. Just not in the budget these days. But one of the things that I did when I went over there with Matt is he does a thing called Walk and Talk, where he likes to talk to entrepreneurs like myself and like himself and just find out where your business started and where it came from. And so we did that, and it ended up being something that a lot of you commented on that you liked. You wanted to hear more about the business side of what we've been doing here, not with just the lawn care nut, but with Yard Mastery. And so when I was in Bozeman, I'm with my business partner, Josh, and so I thought, let's talk through it. I mean, he's equal owner in Yard Mastery. Time to start getting him out there. Let's let you see some of that because he's really a big part of our success and a big part of our growth. And so what we talk about in this episode here, we're actually sitting out on the deck. I'll show you, if you're on YouTube, I'll put up a clip of what the view looked like while we had this discussion. And we're basically talking about how we got to know each other and how we met, because we actually met as friends on the internet. I'll take it from there. All right, sitting here with Josh and Remy, and this little fella over here, the new guy, Rip. Those are Josh's dogs. You guys haven't met Josh before, or maybe you've seen him in a couple of my videos. He showed up in the video that we did a few weeks ago out in Indiana where we did the big philanthropy thing with our new initiative, which we're calling YM Gives. I don't know if I've announced that publicly yet, but Josh and I are sitting up here in Bozeman today. This is where customer service is run out of. He runs our office here. And we decided we would do a quick podcast to let you guys learn a little bit more about him. So Josh Whitford, tell all of my audience, you're like he's my business partner, just so you all know, equal business partner. He's like the maestro behind the scenes, creating everything that makes Yard Mastery run and Lawn Care Nut as smoothly as they do. So Josh, tell them about yourself.
Yeah, well, if you've ever gotten an email from Yard Mastery or Lawn Care Nut, I was probably the one behind that infrastructure, at least.
And in the beginning, you used to answer all the phone calls, answer every email. He did all the customer service. This was a few years ago when I still had a full-time job.
Yep.
And we were just trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah. where's my shirt order?
Yeah, right. Where's my T-shirt? Where's my journal? My lawn journal.
Yeah, my lawn journal. Where's my Milorganite camo hat?
That's right.
You're out of camo hats. I want one. I'm like, well, we only had 700.
Josh is the one that helped us order 10,000 koozies.
Yeah, I think it was 12,000.
12,000.
To be fair, there's 4 designs, so it's like 4,000 of each.
Yeah, that's right.
Or something like that.
Container load of koozies.
Yeah. We probably have a few if somebody wants one.
We do. We still have a couple cases left. All right. So, Josh, we've known each other for a long time, though, long before we started Yard Mastery. So,
yeah, what's it going on? Probably 12 years now?
I think so,
I mean, it's definitely a...
Before I was doing Lawn Care Nut, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, maybe even longer, because I was still doing Life and Lawns back then.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's talk about it. Tell everybody how we met, where it was, what we were doing, and how we got together.
Yeah, so I graduated college in 2006, worked a couple random jobs doing like customer service for McDonald's and stuff like that, talking to wonderful people on the phone who were trying to troubleshoot how to take money from a cash register. That didn't last long. Decided I'd make a living online. Quit my job, used like my vacation and 3 weeks of runway I had with the pay schedule, and I go, yeah, 5 weeks should be plenty of time to figure out how to make a living online.
What'd you go to college for?
Political science and a minor in business. Didn't actually get a minor in business, but took quite a bit of those kind of classes. So like all good entrepreneurs, political science was the degree.
Sounds very useful.
It's super not useful, but it's like the obtainable degree for people that don't want to study math and science too much.
Just get your degree and get out.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you're going to make a living online in 06, 07. You figure you got 5-week run ramp to learn how to make a living on from your laptop at the beach.
Yep, pretty much. Out of Fargo, North Dakota, the beach in Fargo, North Dakota.
And what'd you do?
Yeah, so there's a couple random ventures, they're long past and gone by now. But I helped my wife start a blog. I had a blog. And I think in like 08, I interviewed Gary Vee for his first book.
That's right, you did.
Yeah. He came on, we did an interview, and we argued SEO because I was like learning search engine optimization, and he was calling that was going to be bullshit and everything else. And we had a fun little debate. I met him a couple times, actually. But
that's cool.
Yeah, I had a fun little debate because his marketing strategy for the book was reach out to marketing blogs. And I had joshwhitford.com, which nothing's on it now, but it called it the unconventional marketing blog.
I remember that.
I just kind of do like a blog post a day about any fun marketing things I saw and just riffed on it. And had a couple ventures that we tried doing, starting, consulting services for writing content because my wife's an English journalism major and worked at a newspaper and stuff like that. So tried doing a couple of those, but no audience, and you're not early in the web in 08, but you're early enough where people aren't going to the web for every single problem they have. There's this
there was no mobile at that time.
No, not really.
It was
iPhone
like
just came out basically.
Right. And internet wasn't fast enough really to do much anyway on a
not
phone.
On a phone,
right.
Yeah. So Facebook was pretty much the only social game in town and everything like that. Twitter, I've had a Twitter account forever.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, so, had a lot of misfires, a lot of ideas, tons of ideas, try executing on some, not a whole lot happened, found this one random thing called $1 Million Wiki, which is trying to recreate the like $1 Million homepage, but with a Wikipedia style, where you could buy money or real estate or whatever, and you could buy that URL on the wiki, and then you create the wiki. So it'd be your own personal curated wiki versus Wikipedia, which is community-based.
Yeah, but you're pulling off the authority of the primary domain.
Yep.
A lot of fun subdomain stuff.
Yeah, so that was going for a little while and showed some promise and stuff like that. And then Google put the kibosh on it because it was kind of like selling authority and rank.
Selling PageRank.
Yeah,
you knew that's true too.
Yep, selling PageRank. So they more or less killed it. So that idea like died. But the guy who created it started a new venture called EntreCard. And it was like a little widget you'd put on your website. And as people would visit the page, it would show like a random, call it an ad or a thumbnail or whatever, and you could put your thumbnail on somebody else's page. So it was like a big circle jerk of like bloggers. So it was like a ton of bloggers, and you know, you would basically
links.
buy traffic.
Right.
You know, you'd get clicks from Entre cards, and you would drop your card, and if you drop a card, you got a point or whatever, Entre card credit or whatever it's called, and then you would go through it, and you know, you could accumulate these, and then you could advertise against somebody else's to drive traffic back to your blog. So it was like a way to get traffic, but it just turned into a big circle jerk of bloggers just trying to drop cards every day to build up points so they could get traffic to their site. But
the traffic was garbage. That was the whole thing. It wasn't,
the traffic was numbers. It wasn't
people going for Entre cards. It wasn't. They weren't going for your content.
But at that time, blogging was really huge, like you remember, and so it kind of built a community where there might be like 100 people, and you just constantly go back and forth between people's sites, and you'd all leave comments on each other's sites, and so it kind of like became this community of people that were kind of trying to support each other in the content world, but you know, really is just getting clicks. And the clicks, if you had ads on your site, you know, you get some ad views, so you'd maybe get a little revenue. But anyways, long story short, figured out how to game that system and basically create unlimited credits. So I ended up like selling, you know, buy 10,000 Entre credits on eBay. Like I would sell them for a couple $100 or whatever, and that's how I paid for, you know, I had a roommate at the time, Fargo, cheap living apartment. You know, my monthly budget was probably like $800 a month, you know, and get a couple bucks from AdSense off Google and having these blogs and things like that. And eventually I stumbled into doing like consulting. I just happened to meet a guy who had forward thinking, had a network of apartment sites, like every domain in North Dakota, like Fargo apartments, Grand Forks apartments, you know, whatever.
Yeah, that was
like
an old strategy. You buy a page, and for those of you listening, we're probably talking a lot about an SEO that you don't understand, but back in those days, domain authority was everything. It still is, but you wanted to have the keywords in your domain because that was the biggest indicator when somebody would search. Now, things are a lot more intricate now. They understand people's behaviors and everything else, but back then you didn't have that. So you only had an if, then, this, that, or if, this, then that, right? That's the algorithm. So if they search for the word apartments, right, and they live in Fargo, then show them apartmentsinfargo.com. So that was the strategy.
Yep.
So you'd buy multiple domains, apartments in Fargo, apartments in West Fargo, apartments in eastfargo.com, and you have all these sites. That's what you guys were doing?
Yeah, so he had all the domains, and so I pitched him on this strategy. Let's set up all these microsites.
There you go, microsites, yep.
We used WordPress, and this is way before WordPress was used as a website. It was only like a blog,
right?
And we figured out how to convert the theme and use pages that WordPress offered, and like basically create these static pages, and we could just rubber stamp it, and then we'd have 10 of these sites across all the different, you know, xyzapartments.com, and then they'd all link to each other. So then, you know, you'd get the SEO juice from all the cross-linking, and so then these
page rank sculpting, brother.
Yep. So these sites would rank, and then he would get leads for his apartments. So I pitched him on that idea, and
man, that was fun though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about that's
worked.
The early days of SEO,
Yep.
and you could literally do searches in front of your client and show him his stuff coming up. I mean, that was cool.
Yeah, and about that time, learning SEO, learning these websites, came across a bunch of make money online kind of gurus, you know, like everybody, you know, who knew a little bit was setting up a course or a private group or doing something. And one of the guys ran across, I don't know if he's even still around, Victor Franke or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's like the old man from Legend of the Falls after he had a stroke, you know, like, fuck off, you know, like, like to Google, he's like, yeah, game the hell out of them, use backlink demon, give 4 million backlinks and using automated scripts and comments.
Yeah,
and like
build thousands of links at one time.
Build thousands of links. So, you know, we were gaming the system is all
But he hated Google because what would happen is, y'all, so, and by the way, we're not bad-mouthed. Vic, if you're still out there, bud, you taught us both a lot, actually.
Yep.
I think we would both agree that learning to hate Google made us actually appreciate what Google is and what they actually want. And so then we just started giving them what they want. But we never learned the respect to that, or at least me, until I was first trying to game it. And every time we'd try to game it, we would lose at some point. You know, they devalue all your links you just built or whatever. Even sometimes they'd penalize your own site if you had too many bad links pointing at you. But yeah, Vic taught us all that, so it was positive, and yeah, I just wanted to point that out. So it wasn't like, I mean, but he was definitely raw, which I liked. Google, you know, that was him.
We're just new hatchlings coming out of the shell, right? Like learning this, how the internet can work and function and how algorithms work. Because, algorithms in 2009, 10, that time were just super basic. Like,
well, there was no Google Local, I don't think, back then. Were there Google Local?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It was all Yelp or something else.
Right. And so in that case, you weren't in local SEO. What you're talking about was even later in the game. I was trying to rank for things nationally back then, 2007, 8, because the internet itself wasn't as so. For me to rank for lawn care terms like how to seed your lawn or how to grow grass seed, my little blog would rank #1 in the entire country for that. And that was massive traffic, but we can get into some of how we came together there. So you found Vic.
Yeah, we found Vic. He created some private group.
Yeah.
And then...
What was it called? Do you remember? What was the name of that group?
I'd have to...
It was $350 for a lifetime membership.
Wasn't it like something affiliate, like keyword? No, the keyword affiliate was
somebody
Court.
else. Yeah, there was a few others we joined, but he was we'll have to look it up and see. But yeah, I paid $350 for lifetime.
Something like that.
And to me then, that was a lot of money.
Oh, that was like everything I had on a credit card, probably.
Yeah. That's wild, man. All right.
Yeah, so we were just in this, we're in the same group together at the same time.
What were the live chats? What was that program he used to use for live chats? Wasn't Vidler? What was the other one? But he'd do live streams, remember? And you could chat with him in the live stream, and you could leave him a message, and then he would say, "Oh, Alan, I saw that's a great thing," and then he would go off and talk about it. Yeah. Remember that night? We'd sit there for hours, and he would just preach at us.
Yeah, and just
on this live stream behind this paywall.
Yeah,
wow,
and so somehow there's a member section, and you would leave comments, and I thought you were more advanced than me, so I would like always reply and ask questions, and you'd reply, and somehow we just took it from the membership offline, and eventually, I think I'd just shoot you an email, be like, "Hey, I'm working on this thing, and what do you think of this or that?" And and eventually, I think as I learned more and did more and more actual web consulting, all these things started like web design. Yeah, set up a website.
Yeah,
I'll get you a website.
We knew WordPress, and we understood the back end of WordPress and how to optimize it properly, which was you could make a lot of money at one time just doing that, optimizing WordPress sites properly.
So that was a lot of what I did, and then eventually built up like an actual agency doing marketing, online marketing, and I would run across SEO projects, and Alan was still pretty headlong and doing a lot with that with your blog and other stuff. So then I'd pitch you like, "Hey, you want to help me with this client, do the SEO side of things?" And one of those clients was like giftcards.com or
I worked for them for a while.
Yeah, and a couple of these other like big brands, national brands, and sold that company in 2011 to giftcard.com as essentially an acqui-hire. They did pay some money, so I can say I sold it, but nobody's gonna brag on with that. I worked with them for about a year, and then they wanted to pivot and move away from doing these kind of like small batch cards, because they could print Visa gift cards in their building.
Well, that's what they did, right? They would take leftover. If you had $2 left on a card, they had some way to consolidate all those. And
there's after 7 years, but
the gift card industry is really interesting. I'm sure it's different now. This was several years ago. We were working with those guys.
10 plus, but if a large business, ExxonMobil wanted to reward their employees, they could just order up 5,000 ExxonMobil themed Visa gift cards that could be used anywhere.
You're right, that's where they went.
They would load them up. And so if you had an incentive program at the office, they could just load up the card every month with, "Hey, you hit your $100 incentive." And, now you just have this card, for employees. So they're still around. They still do gift cards and other stuff, I'm sure.
We should see if they still rank #1 for custom gift cards, because that was always the big keyword we wanted. Yeah. We'd be dancing between 2 and 3. Yeah. Could never get #1.
Yeah, well, there's only 2 players in town. They got acquired for, I think, 160 million.
Gift cards did?
7, 8 years ago.
Oh, good for him. Yeah, the owner of that was his name, Jason
Wolf.
Yeah, nice guy.
I think he still runs it too.
Does he really?
Yeah,
he was a good guy.
Well, he bootstrapped that old thing from nothing to I mean, hundreds of millions in revenue.
Yeah, good
so,
for him.
So
we did a little project there together.
do some projects here and there, and then I moved and worked with an investment bank for 4 or 5 years out of Southern California, and
I'm still with True Green during all of this. I'm still at True Green at this time.
But you sold the blog, and now you're really into
I'm doing
the
side
YouTube.
hustle.
You're really into doing some side hustle SEO projects,
Right.
and then doing YouTube, and you're just kind of, there was no rhyme or reason. I think you're just doing it because you like putting the content out there and having fun with it.
Yeah, I used to do some stuff on another channel I did where I would talk about crazy stuff, but it wasn't until I left True Green in 2012 or 11. Man, years go by. 2011 or 12 is when I left True Green, and that's when I went and got hired at the marketing agency out of Chicago, the digital agency, and that's when YouTube really took off. So where were you at? And that's when you were at the investment bank, wasn't it?
I just moved in 2012 to the
right.
investment
So we
bank.
kind of did that transition at the same time.
Yep.
My phone's going off. Yeah, so we did that transition at the same time, and then that's when my YouTube took off. But also 2012 is also, again, when like 4G started coming in, so mobile really took off bigger, and the internet really changed after like 2011, 12. So
yeah, a lot more apps, a lot more social. Like social became all of a sudden. It went from like doing websites and SEO to like, oh, you need a Facebook page, you need a whatever page.
That's what algorithms changed, because then they started looking more at behaviors and lookalike audiences, and so it wasn't so much about somebody searching, apartments in Fargo, or it wasn't somebody like searching for gyms near me. Or I did a lot of work with travel agents near me. That kind of went away because now search was more intuitive. I can't think of the terminology used for that now, but it was more just based on where your mobile phone is in relationship to where you live, in relationship to your work is, to where you drive every day. So things just became intuitive.
Well, the big thing was like Foursquare and like local check-ins, and you could be the mayor of your favorite restaurant or whatever. So a lot of gamification.
All that was so we would teach them our habits, though, so they could just market to us better, which is so funny.
Well, now their algorithm's so good, they just.
Well, that's why we don't really do keyword type SEO anymore. We do on-page SEO, but we don't build links anymore like we used to. There's no need to, because you can't game it anymore anyway.
No. Yeah, so...
tell them what you were doing in San Diego. So
worked at an investment bank, helping run a community, learning how to pitch and present deals, like build pitch decks for raising capital or selling a company or whatever you might want to raise funds for. And so over 4 or 5 years of helping the investment bank side and running this community where people could get this kind of advice behind a paywall, so thousands of pitches, like hundreds and hundreds of different types.
Good and bad.
Different, all kind, like paper napkin pitch, like somebody who tried. And, so you learn that process, like what's a good deal, what's a bad deal, what's a good pitch, what's a bad pitch. And through all that, I learned a lot, but it wasn't going quite where I thought it was going to go. When you work on a deal and you see somebody wanting to write a $10 million check, and your tiny little cut of that might be $50,000. And then all of a sudden the owner of the company says, I think we can go get more money. And the deal just blows up. And you're like, that's the only person willing to write you a check. And now I get no money either. I just worked 3 months on this project to get it to this point. And then you just go blow it up. And it's like, so I didn't like that.
It was out of your control, out of your hands.
It was, it was the rat wheel, right? Like you go, and then every once in a while it spits out of a payday, and there's no consistency. You're not building a thing. You're just helping people find money and place that money.
Yeah,
and
that just sounds hollow.
It's so hit and miss. It's like
it doesn't sound fun either. To me, it's not the way I think.
The deal world is fun. It's high stakes. I mean, people writing 8-figure checks or 9-figure checks. There's a lot there, but it's too inconsistent. You're not building this constant revenue stream or a pipeline or anything like that. It's just, when a good deal happens and it lands, and it happens, and then it could be months before another one. So I was looking for a change, and I was thinking going back into doing agency work, finding clients, building client list, and I did that kind of at the same time as I was working at the investment bank, knowing I was about to leave sooner or later. Got a couple great clients, but as anybody in client work knows, especially online marketing client work, you can charge some high dollar fees to do the work, but at some point, and I always estimate it's about 18 months, you kind of work yourself out of a job. Because if you set up the email list, the marketing funnel, the membership area, site, all that stuff, eventually it kind of starts running itself. And then they go, why do we pay you so much to do this when we could have intern Billy do it?
Yeah.
And it never works out. Intern Billy always drops the ball because they didn't build it. They don't understand it and how it all
they're not invested in it.
And they're not invested in it. So, they pay you a lot of money to care and answer emails at 11 p.m. at night, right? And intern Bobby works 8 to 5 and doesn't deliver that kind of customer service.
Right.
So I was seeing that trend happen again, and I was like, I need to do something else, need to build a different kind of model, which I ultimately did. And the model was, instead of charging people a bunch of money to do consulting work, what I do is find a couple like content creators, things like that, and I would run everything for them that didn't exist or wasn't built, and then we'd split the revenue,
the commission.
So it was like, our worth was in the added value. You weren't doing this. You weren't doing this. We're now doing that. It now makes money. We split that money after expenses,
and it makes sense because they have. Well, they are what we, and I know who you're going to talk about in a minute, and I want you to because it's going to be fun, but they were the influencers. They call us that now, but back then they had the audience, they had the community, but they didn't always know how to properly monetize that community or communicate, and that's where you were a specialist. You could go in and go, oh, here's a bunch of different ways we could work with this community in different ways, and so tell me about that one client, the big one I think you're going to mention.
Yeah, so one of them was RV Lifestyle, great couple, Mike and Jen Winland, and they have, they're early in the YouTube game for RV and RV living. So they're kind of like you're the grandfather of the lawn game. They're kind of like that for the RV side of things. And so approached them, said, he reached out to me because of my website and wanted to do like a Patreon or something like that. And I was like, I think you have bigger opportunity here that's way easier to do than trying to set up and run a Patreon. So met with them and go, hey, I'll charge you nothing. We'll build this thing together and whatever,
including ebooks, and guides,
ebooks,
and all the same stuff we kind of do.
Finding sponsors, new sponsors, and getting sponsorship agreements.
But you build an email list for them.
Build an email list, the whole thing. So they had a huge Facebook page and a decent YouTube audience. And so, leverage those communities to build a list, send out newsletters, create travel guides. So we did all these like 7-day adventure guides, Glacier, Yellowstone, Florida coast, Gulf coast, UP, and we sell them for like $7 a piece. But it'd be a super comprehensive guide, like stay here, go here, visit this.
Give more than you ask.
Here's the link to the local national park website, or here's where you could stay, and
inside the guides there's affiliate links too, right?
Yep.
See, so you're continuing to monetize,
and then we'd bundle them all together. Once we had like 5, 6, 7 or whatever of them, be like, buy all 7 of them for $29, get a little discount and do that. And so
that's classic content marketing.
Yeah.
Something they don't have time to do, man.
Exactly. They're busy making the content,
right? So you got to show them how to segment it. And, one I wanted to talk about before that, though, I don't know, can you talk about Seal Fit?
Yeah, sure.
Because that's actually the first one you did. Yeah. So I think I think the RV folks are great, but I think Seal Fit's really the big one.
Yeah.
So talk about what you did for them.
Yeah, so Seal Fit, they had the other domain, NavySeal.com. The founder, Mark Devine, was a retired Navy SEAL. And in Southern California, you can throw a rock and hit a Navy SEAL because that's kind of where they're based out of.
Jocko and everybody else.
Yeah, and I was working out at their gym with some friends that I had made, and they needed some work. They had an online membership where they'd put workouts up every day. And so for like $10 a month or whatever, you'd get like 3 tiers of workouts, depending on how intense you wanted to go. But they had these event courses called Kokoro, and then we created a couple other ones. And Kokoro is like a 3-day Navy SEAL Hell Week. And just to get in, you have to be like a super athlete. Like you're legit, you know.
That's a physical thing you go do, right?
Big time.
Through Seal Fit.
Yep.
Yeah, because my ex-boss, Joe Chura, he does that now, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. So
or not hilarious, but cool. Like,
so they kind of, as a Navy SEAL, he wanted to build a course that would help increase the odds of people that wanted to go into the SEAL teams. And so he'd run them through this Kokoro course, which is like 3 days nonstop, no sleep, barely any food, you know,
who's going to carry the boats?
Yeah. Who's going to carry the boats? You know, like rucking up mountains, like bear crawling up mountains, you know, not just rucking. Like, you know, you got bear crawl a mile, you got to sit in the surf.
I can't bear crawl in the lawn, bro.
You know, do all these different things. But the website became a lead funnel for the event company, and they do events. And at the time, they wanted to create a separate brand called Unbeatable Mind, and that's when they created kind of like the more business-friendly type events. A little less intense, a lot less intense.
Right.
You know, so it's not for superstars, it's for corporate teams that want to come out, get a little taste of the SEAL lifestyle.
I think pretty sure that's what Joe's doing. He's
play in the sand, play in the beach, get wet, feel miserable for a little bit, but then go back to a 5-star resort and lick your wounds. Yeah. So we, you know, built the funnels, we built landing pages, you
segmented their email list, right?
Set it all up. I mean, they were on some terrible system, you know, segmented it, built the whole thing so there's actual flows and processes so people can get upgraded and get them into the online classes to get training, then move them from online classes to events, you know, and so on. And so, I think they had over, like, at the time, 1.3 million people on their Facebook page.
Wow.
You know, NavySeals.com. So, like, leveraging those properties to, like, build a list, and then from the list doing marketing emails, like, here's events, here's a course.
Right.
You know, sign up now, get 3 months free of online coaching. And then people could go through and do these workouts that they would do at their little gym in Encinitas. They could do it at home with some kettlebells and sandbags and things like that. So you have
all this content. So this is the same thing. They're early influencers. They're not a personal brand. Maybe that's what I would call influencers today are personal brands, I call them. But that was like a group, a business. It was an influence, but it was a big thing. So you went and helped to create all these systems. And I wanted to point that out. Because I want to get to what you do now as my business partner, because it's all important. You're not just a guy sending out emails. You build systems and processes behind it. And you find software. Hey, we have a problem here. We need to deliver this and this and this and this. I'll find some software that's going to do that, and I'm going to integrate it into my current process. And so that's what I wanted to bring all of you all in my audience to, is to what Josh does now. Because I said earlier, he did customer service. Yeah, well, in the early days, he answered the phone. But now he actually, he's like a maestro with giant organs all in front of him, multiple, not those kind of organs. He's looking at me funny. No,
church organs.
Yeah, let's do that. Keyboards and drums and a whole instrumental section. And he's like mixing all of the stuff together from Shopify to, I should know all these different platforms we use, but I don't. This is why I don't have to know all those things, guys, so I can still do content. He's got all this software that all talks together, and then all behind that is marketing funnels behind all of those things, and behind that is follow-up, and so that's your thing. What do you call that? Is there a name for that?
Yeah, you could probably call it managing a tech stack, right? So you have a lot of tech, and your tech stack is how everything you use that does specific things.
Including our app, by the way. That's the other thing. We have an app, guys, that all integrates here, too. So it's like so much more than you can even...
so like the mobile app talks to the email list, talks to the remarketing ads, talks to...
It's integrated with Shopify,
too, and the customer service software we use. And it's all integrated, so somebody...
Zendesk, right. Yep. What's the shipping stuff?
ShipEdge.
ShipEdge. It all talks to that. Again, I don't need to know this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's
so when an order comes in and tracking goes out, a customer service person can see what order you're talking about when you message in, and quickly pull up whatever they need to know or handle the problem. Create the article databases. All these things that support the business that we're doing. So So that's what I'm pretty good at, is building the tech stack.
But it started with seal fit.
Understanding,
well, it
how
started
those
before
work.
that.
Yep.
But it started. But it's interesting to watch that journey. So we just talked about how we know each other and where we came from. But look at what you're doing now. Like, and that's Josh's strong suit, is finding that tech and making sure it all integrates. And now it's like spaghetti noodles in some cases, because he's had to kind of finagle things to make them work.
Yeah.
Because some of what we do hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
Especially through Shopify and things like that. So. Kind of fun, right?
Yeah,
challenging.
It's some of the software we use. You approach a developer, go, "Hey, I like what you have here. Can you do it in the complete opposite way you're doing it now, so that I could use it the way I want to use it?"
Right.
And then they look at it and go, "Yeah, we think we could do that." And then like, "Okay, great. Now I have something I can use to link with manufacturers and to do some drop shipping and have it all actually managed, so we're not having to like piece orders out, to different people. Like they get just what they need. They don't get other order information,
Right.
other order products or anything in their system, so they can fulfill." And
so you all know what that means too, because we're an e-commerce business, right? But we have different products. Some are drop shipped by the manufacturer. Some we warehouse. And then some come from Amazon. So there's all these different places that are getting orders from us. And so Josh has to parse those out to make it easier, because these people in warehouses, they need it sent to them simply. So it's really, you're down at that level, but you're also way up on the top level, and he runs all the customer service. He basically does all of the adult work. I'm just kidding.
at least part of it.
Yeah. So, the other adult work is the accounting and all the other stuff that gives us both a headache. But
Yeah, so SealFit was working with SealFit, RV Lifestyle, and around that time your channel was gaining some steam. I don't know, you were probably at like 75,000
so this would be like 2016, 17 maybe?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
You hadn't hit 100,000 for sure yet, but
Yeah.
I was like, you have this audience, you have this channel, like, let me just set up a shop, an email list, let's sell some merch.
Yeah.
That's
and I
where
was
it
still
all
a
starts.
full-time day job working for the agency.
Yeah, so
Just making AdSense money, which whatever.
do some hats, do some shirts, that kind of thing.
Yep.
We launched that, I think, like November of 17.
Yep. And we just did a rev share at that time.
Yeah,
'Cause we weren't in business.
that was-
We were just
yeah,
it was a
we
rev
were-
share, just like everything else you
Yep.
did.
We deduct expenses, whatever few bucks we made at the end of the day, we
Just
split
split
it. And that was, I think, November of 17, kind of right around Thanksgiving we launched that. And
We were doing the ebooks before that. We need to look up these
we
dates.
did the merch first, and then that spring we
Was
knocked
it?
out the ebooks.
Okay, because the ebooks were our first real.
That was like the first real thing.
And just so you guys know, the ebook that you have today is what we're talking about, but it's been revamped many times. But it actually started as what's called a $7 ebook. Look up the old school $7 secrets. That's some of it going back now to our beginnings. But I used to sell it for $7 on my blog called Life and Lawns. And you could download it for $7, and it was only 6 pages at that time. But it was essentially the same soil temperature-based stuff we use now. We just have different tools, and now we have an app.
Tried and true, right?
Yeah. So I think the ebook was our first big hit, because obviously with an ebook you don't have any chemical cost or shipping
Overhead,
cost,
nothing,
anything.
yeah.
So that was a good one.
So I think you did the Cool Season one first.
Yeah.
And I think it was like
No,
35.
it was one book. It wasn't even separated. It was just one ebook.
And
That
I
was
think it was like 35 pages.
Yeah.
Like the first one.
It was 35.
Now it's like 135.
Yeah. And 2 separate ebooks now.
And 2 separate, one
Yeah.
for Warm and Cool Season.
Yep.
So we launched that in the spring, and it did pretty well. I mean, it got some traction because of YouTube and everything else you had going on. And then we started doing a bunch of free guides as like a lead magnet to like, hey, sign up to the list, get free guides. And
so that was our big goal. Those
Yeah.
first early on was to build the email list, because we used to say the money is in the list. And this is going to sound like, man, you guys are hardcore marketers. Listen, this is on a podcast. Okay. We're telling you guys some behind the scenes stuff,
And it's the business we were in for 15 years.
It just happens to be my passion, and I love it. And I'm very fortunate of that. And I'm fortunate to have a friend that believes in what I do to be my business partner. So yeah, we're going to be honest with you. I mean, this is what we do. And by the way, every YouTube channel that's successful, this same kind of thing goes on behind it. And Josh and I love that, actually, when we watch podcasts. Like we were watching Cletus on a podcast the other day, and we're like, oh, we recognize some of the same business strategies or business struggles that he's had that we've had,
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a big learning curve when you start
yeah.
building something real. And so I think
So yeah, early on
around
we
that
did the
time,
ebook. Yep.
John Perry reached out to you about talking about selling Greene County products?
Yeah, so I had, what it was, we were looking for, what would happen is, now from here, the business started to change based on the audience feedback, because we had in the ebooks, I had 2 fertilizers that I recommended that I thought everybody could get. It was Milorganite, obviously, which you still can, and what was the other one? It was some sort of chicken-based thing from, gosh, I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. It was feather meal, and anyway, there was another one I used to recommend, and it got to the point where people were like getting mad because they couldn't find these ferts, whatever. So we started.
Milorganite would be sold out.
And not yet at that point, but it was growing. But I needed some other things to talk about. I needed other things to offer. And so we started looking for ways to find different things. And so that's when people would start recommending to me things to do. And I met John, and he started teaching me about the humic acid and all those types of things and biostimulants. So that's when we kind of got into that.
And the
progressing.
BioStim pack, they really wanted to
Yeah, that was 2018?
Yeah, it must have been 18.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much all. We had merch and then couple Greene County products.
Yep.
And then the lawn journal and a couple other random
soil thermometers.
Yeah, soil thermometer, a couple other random little things we took flyers on to see what they would do.
That was so back then, just so you guys know, I mean, full transparency, we were literally buying stuff from China because that's just what you did, right? So we had a guy there that Josh found that we would be like, hey, we want to do soil thermometers, and he'd send us 5, 6, 7 samples of different ones, and then you would go, okay, I want that one.
Put our logo on it. I
mean, it is what it is, whether you like that or not. I mean, we don't do that anymore, but we learned, and we bought a couple not container loads of stuff.
But definitely cases of
yeah,
them. Yeah.
They were big investments at the time, I remember. 10, 12 grand worth of freaking journals or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and shipping journals are they're heavy little things,
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, the pins were good. Remember people were like, man, the pin in this thing is great. I'm like, it's made in China, bro.
Yeah, it's and the fact that it started as kind of a meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
funny.
The
lawn journal thing, that did start as a meme. So, but yeah, so we don't need to go any further into the business stuff from there, but I think that was a good way to set it off and to introduce you to the audience and let them know a little bit more about you. And you guys, we have some plans for growth to expand, and I'm not going to say any more than that, but you guys will start seeing Josh a bit more when we start getting into those new expansions. So do you want to give out your socials?
Yeah, I'm The Real Josh on Twitter, Facebook, I think, Instagram, Road to Gumball.
Road to Gumball. So we can talk about your car enthusiasm and all of that in another episode as well.
Yeah, we could do that. Cars and guns, there mountains. Those are the cure for just about everything.
You do live in Bozeman, so the only cooler place in the world than Bozeman is Bradenton, Florida. But,
I could see 3 ranges from my porch, so...
All right, so I appreciate you guys listening to that. Hope you enjoyed it. Something a little bit different. And if you like that kind of content, let me know. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm actually at Alan Paul, ALLYNPAUL, Alan Paul. But you search Lawn Care Nut Twitter, I'll come up. Maybe hit me up in a comment somewhere. Let me know, because I could do a lot more business stuff. I can do the whole Gary Vaynerchuk thing without the F-bombs if needed. And it is kind of exciting to talk about business and some of the things that I've learned growing this business and some of the things that we've overcome. And, I think that would be interesting to some of you that are out there, because a lot of you are small business owners, you're entrepreneurs, you're people that maybe you want to be a small business owner, and so you like hearing stories, especially from the old man that waited until he was in his 40s to take the leap into being an entrepreneur. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, the next podcast that I'll be releasing will be here pretty quick, maybe just in a couple days, but I'm actually going to go edit it right now. And this one was actually an interview with another entrepreneur, and this time it's a guy that is into robot mowers, and he's using the power of TikTok to actually spread his business. So that'll be coming up a little bit later on. In a couple days, I'll post that one. That was a great interview that Brett and I did. And I hope you guys will enjoy that as well. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please share it wherever you're at. I think other people could benefit from it, and hopefully you do too. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your week. I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut, and I'll see you in the lawn.